Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. It's been a minute since I've posted anything. My wife and I decided to move from Seattle to the Covington, Kent area of Washington. So got some new digs now, and we're finally set up. And I've also just been lazy and procrastinating a significant amount. So have not posted anything in quite some time. But today we are going to be talking about the Little Book of Common Sense Investing by one John C. Bogle. Now, for those of you who don't know who John C. Bogle is, he founded everybody's favorite low-cost brokerage, Vanguard, in 1975. Now, Vanguard revolutionized the investing industry because it was really the first brokerage to offer very low-cost index funds, which are batches of stocks that track things like the S&P 500 index, and Vanguard offers them at a very, very low expense ratio. Now, the premise the book tries to convey is why investing in low-cost index funds and just sitting back, just buy and hold, baby, buy and hold, is the best and, well, some might say most common sense thing to do. Let's say you're someone who's thinking, my gosh, I need to invest my money, but I don't know how. Oh, I know, I'll give my money to that mutual fund manager who said they could invest my money and beat the market no problem. Now, he also said, and this is key, that he would only charge me a 1% fee to manage my money. So let me get this straight. All I have to do is give my money to this expert who told me that he would beat the market, and I only have to pay him 1% of my earnings. That means that I get to keep 99% of my earnings, and he only takes 1%. So either this is the best deal ever, or this guy is an idiot. Allow me to hit you with a quote from the book. Mutual fund investors are confident that they can select superior fund managers. They are wrong. Let's take a look at some data, shall we? Market returns on average are 7%. So investors together also get 7%. And here comes the big but. Investors collect their fees regardless of whether you make money or not. So on average, the all-in, in fact, I'm going to capitalize this, all-in costs of a mutual fund, steal would be the appropriate word, 2 to 3% of your earnings. So if the market returns 7% on average, and investors together get 7%, the all-in cost of a mutual fund of 2 to 3% make your profits that much smaller. And 2 to 3% is significant, which we'll go over here in a second. So as an example, if you were to invest $10,000 in the market over 50 years, that $10,000 would turn into $224,000, again, over 50 years. That same $10K in a mutual fund grows to just $114,000 after 50 years. Now, the part that's really tricky about this is that it's easy to see a huge difference in growth over 50 years, but it is very difficult to see the difference in growth over just 5 or 10 years. So it's best to know this now before you jump into a mutual fund, because you may not catch this until it's too late. So let's take a look at this. After 2 years, that initial investment of $10,000 in a mutual fund goes to $10,500. And in an index fund, a low-cost index fund, it goes to $10,700. Okay, not bad. They're pretty similar. Now, after year 10, you have a difference of about $3,000. You get $16,300 in a mutual fund and $19,700 in a low-cost index fund. Now, you might be thinking at this point, all right, I don't care. It's only $3K. You know, it's out of my hands. A mutual fund guy, expert, love him. He's got it. Now, year 30 is really when we start to take some damage on this front. So a $30,000 difference is really not okay in my book, and it shouldn't be in yours either. So in the mutual fund, after 30 years, your 10K is now $43,200. In a low-cost index fund, it would be $76,100. Now, at this point, after 30 years of investing, you're already getting to the point where you've lost a ton of money, and this is going to be a big hit to your retirement income. So in year 50, and this is presumably when you want to retire, you're making $114,000 off of that mutual fund, and you're making $294,000 off the low-cost index fund. Now, just to really drive this point home, let's just do some simple math. All right, so you have the difference here of 114K and 294K. So if we take this mutual fund number and we divide it by the indexed fund number, what we get is the fact that you have put in 100% of the money, your money that you want to invest, and you assumed 100% of the risk. And what you get in return of giving your 100% is you get 38% of the returns. So what do we learn from this, ladies and gentlemen? Well, what we learn is that compounding returns do not work well with compounding costs. It's like oil and water. It's like planning 3 Star Wars sequel movies, but not having a plan to connect the stories of those movies. Now, if you're still not convinced, okay, you're thinking you've given me data, you've given me some pretty cheesy dad jokes, but I don't know if I believe you. Well, allow me to fill you in on a little study that the book did about the 355 mutual funds that were in existence in 1970, and let's track where they are today. That's interesting. Yeah. So it looks like almost, 80% of them went out of business. Most of the rest of them were marginal to solid losers. Out of the original 355 mutual funds that existed in 1970, there are just two that delivered superior results. Superior results to the 7% that is given back to you on average by the market. Does that sound like a game that you want to play? For my money, I'm content with investing in a low-cost index fund, something with like a 0.01% expense ratio. On the high end, that would be about 0.25. Now, remember, when you're calculating expense ratios, you have to multiply by adding 2 zeros. So let's just do a little bit more math here. We'll figure this out together. So if the expense ratio is 0.01, then we know that we have to take 0.0001 because we're adding 2 zeros, and we'll be multiplying that by whatever we invest with. Let's just say it's $10,000. So what we get is you'll be, for every $10,000 you invest, you will have to give $1, just $1 of that to your brokerage. If your expense ratio is 0.25, then we have to add 2 zeros. We go 0.0025, and then we multiply that by whatever we're investing. And then you'd end up getting, for every $10,000 you invest, the brokerage would take $25 from you. So get out there and research some companies like Vanguard and Fidelity. Those are the two, I think, well, for me anyway, most common low-cost brokerages that you could go through that offer some really nice index funds. So get out there and research those index funds, see what you're comfortable with, and instead of trying to beat the market, try to match it. If anything that this book tries to hammer home is that it is really, really hard to beat the market. And it provides mountains of data and evidence as to why that is the case. I highly recommend it. Again, the little book of Common Sense Investing by the founder of Vanguard, John C. Bogle. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you later.